Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is a premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and Self-Storage Unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good morning, self-storage industry, and thank you for joining us today for a special live edition of Engaging with the Experts with our very own, featured in that commercial we just played for you, our president and co-founder of the SBOA, Ian Burnstein. Today, I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. For all of those that don't know me, I'm the vice president of the SBOA. I'm feeling a little festive today. That's why I wore my Grinch shirt. So Merry Grinchmas to all out there. I hope you guys are having a great holiday season. And I don't want to waste any time because this is such a power-packed session we have for you today. And we have such an awesome guest. So I'm going to bring up Ian Burnstein. What's up, IB?
What's going on, JJ?
How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I can't complain. I won't do what I did on the phone the other day and repeat myself a couple times in a row of how good I was doing that day. So, well, Ian, so we got to spend a few days together the last couple of days in Detroit, which was a pleasure. And we were heads together on planning, things that we want to do for the industry in 2022. So we'll talk about that later on in today's presentation. But before we get started, I just want to go over, like I always do with everyone, some quick housekeeping items. We are live, so that means we want to chat with you live and interact with you live. So you can do that by putting your questions and comments in the chat area of this session today. Please feel free to drop us a line, your name, who you are, what state you're in, the name of your organization, so we can say hi to you. If you haven't already subscribed to the SBOA YouTube channel, please do. All you have to do is hit subscribe. If you like today's session, please give us a like on the video. We always appreciate those likes and shout outs. Throughout today, when we have important links, we will share that in the chat area with you so you can download those links, click on those links, see the things that we are sharing with you. And we also, when we do the video replay of these on our YouTube channel, all of the necessary and pertinent links that we mentioned today will be listed there in that video description. So we always like to kick off our sessions with a couple quick polls. We really want to get to know who you guys are so we can be a really valuable resource to you. And the more we know about you and your organization, the better we can help you. So we use Slido for this. If you have a smart device, a smartphone, what are they called? I can't even think of what they're called. Tablet. I don't use tablets, so that's why I can't think of the name. Go ahead and scan that code, and we're going to launch a couple polls. There's a slight delay, so sorry if this takes a little bit longer than it normally does, but we're going to get through these. And I see Scott Warden out there from Call Potential. What's up, Scotty? I see Alana Ross from StorageAuctions.com. What's up, Alana? Alana and I were on a call the other day for marketing committee for YLG for SSA, so that's super exciting. So here's the first poll. Do you currently own a self-storage facility, or are you looking to own a self-storage facility, or neither? Scan that code, answer those polls if you guys can for us. Like I said, the more we know about you, the better we can be a resource to you and help. Neither. It's because I got vendors on this call. Where are my members at? All right, we'll give that a couple more seconds. Ian, while we're waiting, tell us how many calls you get a week about people looking to come into this industry. I know you say it's a lot.
I mean, I get a call a day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Now we've got some different answers coming through. Thank you guys for taking the time to answer that poll. We're going to move on to the next one real quick. All right, this is an open-ended question, and we just want to hear from you guys. What is your biggest strategy for 2022? What do you think is going to move the needle, move the dial? What's the focus on? And like I said earlier, we're going to give you guys some sneak peeks of what is going to move the needle, hopefully on the end of ours over here at the Storage Business Owners Alliance in 2022. Again, this is open-ended, so you have to unfortunately type your response. You can make it something super quick. Marketing, operations, technology, anything, whatever's out there that's going to be your biggest strategy. Hiring good staff. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Marketing, unmanned self-service facility. Sorry, guys, my vision's terrible. Those are good ones. Ian, what are your thoughts on the new craze with unmanned facilities?
I think there's a lot of great value to it. I mean, we did like satellite offices that were unmanned. We never got there. I'm sure we would have been by now. I'm sure, especially what's been going on with the labor shortages. I think it's a great idea. I think everything about it's great.
Yeah, likewise. Hub and spoke model is another big model out there that we hear about a lot. A lot of the industry has been talking about that as well. So thank you guys for answering. Finding a viable conversion opportunity. The current cap rates of facilities for sale are spooky low. I heard a spooky low one the other day. I think it was a 1.5. It was like, whoa, okay, that's low.
They are low. No question about it.
Awesome. And we'll dive into talking about that a little bit further in today's conversation too. So, all right, thanks for answering. Last poll, another open-ended one. Again, we want to be a resource for you guys. So we want to know some of the pain points that you're experiencing out there. So from a products and service standpoint, what are you in the most need of currently? Is it a website? Is it human resources services? Is it preventative maintenance on your HVAC systems? Is it kiosks? Ian, throw some out there that I'm missing.
Tenant insurance.
Good one. I shouldn't have forgot about that one.
Lead generation.
Yeah, aggregators. A lot of talk about that. Reputation management's been a huge topic
Improving
lately.
your website.
Yeah, all good stuff going on out there. So take a minute and enter those responses if you can for us, and then we're gonna dive into today's session. Website design. We see that a lot. There's a lot of templated websites out there that are functional and do what they need, but ultimately with the websites, we want to see those convert into rentals or online reservations for you guys. Tenant insurance. All right, we got a tenant insurance. That's good. Well, in case you guys didn't know, SBOA tenant insurance is a great program. It's won the ISS Best of Business the last, I think it's Ian, 9 years in a row now?
It is.
Yeah, so we have connections with that division. We would be happy to connect you to those guys over there so you can have a conversation with them. Online auctions. I wonder who entered that, Alana Ross. Just kidding. But online's a great option now, too. It keeps you safe. You don't have to have people on the property. It's very, very easy to execute as long as you take good pictures of the contents within. I know for a fact storageauction.com team helps tremendously in that onboarding process for owners and operators out there. So PEO, that's another good one. There's a lot of, if you are growing and going, into different states, rather than having to do all of that research on your own for state labor laws, a PEO can be a great source there. Ian, you used a PEO when you had your portfolio. Give us some pointers about that.
Yeah, we still do today.
Yeah.
We always had an internal HR person. They were not capable of doing everything that we needed anyways. We were getting hammered on all kinds of insurance, and things were falling through the cracks. And so we hired a firm to handle all that for us, who handled not only payroll, all the health insurance, all of the workers' comp insurance, taking the payroll out, because you basically became part of a company that had 15,000 employees that were leased, as opposed to a small company like ours that had 100 employees. So, and they handled all the unemployment claims, all the workers' comp claims, and had free legal services there as well. So it ended up costing us far less, even though you're paying for some of the service. Obviously, it ended up costing us significantly less, and I felt much more protected and definitely slept a lot better at night.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone out there has the skill set to know all of the different nuances within that, and it just is a safer way to go. Let them take the burden of all of that red tape around HR, and you could be hands off for a pretty, I would say reasonably priced, fair price fee. So awesome. Well, all right, let's kick it off. So
Right.
IB, you have your hands in a lot of stuff. You're a commercial real estate attorney, broker, investor. I know you're a board member of several organizations. You are one of the founding members of SBOA Tenant Insurance and Merchant Services. What else? You help run the organization that in honor of your dad there in Detroit. You built, ran, acquired, sold self-storage. And for today's purpose, because obviously our audience is self-storage industry folks for the most part, let's dive in there. What made you want to get into this wonderful industry of self-storage?
So when I was a kid, I loved storing things. I always dreamed. No, like almost anybody else, I kind of happened. I just kind of fell into it. So I was an attorney for 5 years, hated every second of being a lawyer.
I can only imagine.
Hated it. It's a horrible profession. It really is. And I'm very, very entrepreneurial. And so it was a stifling environment for me. I learned a ton. It was great. Glad I did it. Got me where I am today. And I was a real estate lawyer, so I learned real skills. So had a client finally come knocking saying, come work for us directly, run our real estate. They also were in the paving and trucking business. And so the very first thing that we bought together, and we actually bought it as I was leaving the law firm, was a piece of land down in southern Michigan near the Ohio border. And we were putting a trucking facility there. And they said, we have 40 vacant acres. Ian, go figure, we think we're paving all these storage facilities. There's got to be something to it. Why don't you go figure it out? This was back in 2000. And so I hired a consultant, went to a couple trade shows. Actually, I went to the Track T show, and then I went to ISS, and I hired a consultant at the time and a third-party manager. And we started developing, had a portfolio of 6 properties in a pretty short period of time with my then partners. Once we sold, we had a kind of difference of opinions on how to move everything forward. So without having any knowledge at all what to do, I left. I had no clue what I was going to do. Thought I was going to be done with storage. It was a very, very good exit. And then 6 months later, I was trying to figure out what was next, and I was brokering a deal. And my now partner, David Levenfeld, was in town, and he wanted to see it. And we got connected by mutual friends and in the industry who, Aaron Swerdlin and his team from, they're now Newmark. Back in the day, they were called SIA. So they connected the two of us, and literally within meeting David that day, within 4 days, we had a signed agreement with an equity partner. He had some deals queued up, and within 4 months of meeting David, we bought 8 properties.
Wow.
So
that's awesome. And at the highest point, how many did you have under the Storage Pros brand?
At the highest point in time, I think we were like 87.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then, and when you started, they were self-managed at first, and then you moved into third party?
So so it's interesting. So just a quick history on what we did.
Yeah.
So we started, I met David like Christmas of 06, and by early 07, we were already deep into buying. And then '08, we got to 10 properties, and then '08 hit. And we all know what happened in '08.
Oh, scary.
So, terrifying. I didn't take a salary for almost 4 years. And so luckily we're getting some fees for doing the deals that we did. I'm not a very big spender. And so I was able to keep it in check. And my wife's got a very good job. So we were able to get through it. And I had a good exit before. I basically had enough to live off for 4 or 5 years. And so when 2008 hit and everything shut down, it was terrifying. But everybody was giving back properties other than us. I mean, everybody. And so we went out and we bought, between the end of '09 and beginning of '13, we bought almost 70 properties in 8 states.
Wow.
Self-managed everything. Our equity partner, when we started, required that we do that. It's not fun, the management business, but it was important. I think made us much better. Sure. At one point we had 160 employees.
Awesome.
And so when '08 hit, by the way, that's when we started the SBOA. Terrifying, rents you certainly weren't going to increase rents. You certainly weren't increasing revenue. The only way really to survive was decreasing, improving the bottom line. And that's when we came up with, significantly reducing credit card fees. I mean, I know we had a major impact on a go-forward basis on what people pay for credit card in our space, because we just completely gutted the rates, which now everybody has to compete with. On the insurance, we gave, at the time, people were getting 20-25% of the amount of the premium they were selling, and immediately we took it to anywhere between 55 and 80%, depending on if you were a shareholder or not.
That's a lot.
You take some risk, and then got all kinds of vendors to reduce their prices during that time. And so, because we brought them a lot of other business. And so finally, when things kind of settled down, when the banks were opening up a little bit, everybody else was giving back properties. I mean, nothing happened for a year. I mean, at that point, everyone was trying to figure out, what the hell's going on, trying to get their bearings. The banks are trying to, hold on for dear life. And so we went on a rampage. We just bought a ton.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing going on, during this COVID mess as well. I mean, there's these acquisitions that are going on out there. I mean, the market is getting gobbled up. There are some big players coming in to the space. You can probably speak on this one because you're really good friends with Kyle over at Simply. Blackstone acquiring them, Public acquiring Easy in the Maryland, DC, Virginia corridor. I mean, it's nuts. What was the latest one? Manhattan Mini Storage, $3 billion. I mean, that's a B, everybody. Tommy at Storage Pug always jokes and says that's a B behind that. And it's a lot. I mean,
no, Storage West just sold to Cube. It's massive what's going on out there.
Crazy.
The funny thing is, when we sold in 2015, we sold 37 assets at once. Very large deal. It was in the $250 million range. And at the time, it was one of the best transactions in our space, ever. And now it's happens every day.
Yeah. Chump change these days, right?
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
And I would tell you, Jessica, there's a big difference from what we did and what's happening now. I mean, right now, obviously, things are at an extreme premium.
Yeah.
Obviously, interest rates are incredible and capital is abundant. So I think it's working. When we were buying, it was almost impossible to put a cap rate on. We were buying things, 40-50% occupied. In our minds, the best we could ascertain was 30 cents on the dollar. I mean, when we turned around and we got rid of the stuff that we bought in that time period, and number one, we were really good at managing, right?
Yeah, that's important.
Number two, great at revenue management. 3, great at insurance. 4, really good at watching the details and reducing expenses. And then 5, just really good at marketing and web and training our staff to get deals closed. So we returned almost 7x our investors' money to them in that time period. And so, which then obviously has benefits to last a lifetime too, because returning people back 7 times their money in a real estate deal is a pretty good recipe for popularity.
Yeah, they probably want to do a lot of deals with you in the future.
So, I mean, that's what's propelled me today. I mean, people just
Yeah,
know that we can find ways to produce for them.
that's awesome. So let's take a little bit of a walk down memory lane. Tell me when you got into this, like what were some of those least anticipated things that happened early in self-storage that you weren't necessarily prepared for?
So the probably the most dispelled myth out there is that, oh, it's easy. You build these things, people just come and go. It's really low touch. It's easy. Blown away about how involved and challenging management is on these properties. So if you think about it for a minute, so assets are trading, 25 million plus now, right? I mean, there's a lot of, we just sold some in the Cube at a very significant price last week, or this week actually.
Yeah.
And so, you're entrusting sometimes anywhere from, call it from $5 to $50 million asset with somebody who could be, at the time when we were really managing, I mean, the average salary for a manager was $14, $15 an hour.
Yeah, low, super low.
Pretty messed up when you think about it, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's a huge gap.
yeah. So I didn't really understand how much, how challenging it was with all of the management related issues. And when we started, the internet was, there was no commerce on the internet yet. Like you couldn't rent a unit online. You could advertise it and have people call through that, but it was very unsophisticated, very simple. It's obviously changed fast, but in the beginning it was all yellow pages. Remember those?
Mm-hmm, I do.
You used to have to buy, at some properties, you had to spend $50,000 a year on a yellow page ad.
I have a funny story for you. So Shane Cocker from Storable and I talk about this because he's a marketing guy too. Back in my early franchising days, before the internet and all these sophisticated softwares were out there, our franchisees would have to send in their coupons, and we would literally gather on the floor together as a team, sort coupons to figure out what our redemption rate was on our coupons to make sure our ad spend was good. I mean, things have come a long way. So a really long way.
Very different.
Yeah. So with that being said, and listen, when we started this series a couple months ago, we've had Raheem from Devon on, Alyssa Quill from Sam, Chip from KO. We're trying to talk RK from Coast to Coast Realty, some of the industry thought leaders that have been around for a long time and have kind of seen the different phases. So that's what made us start this series. There's just so much going on in the space. And like you said, that it's a huge asset that you're entrusting a human with that makes a very low salary. So a consistent theme we saw with these series is the number one tip that they can give a newer owner operator is getting a good manager. Would you agree with that? And can you kind of speak on that a little bit?
There's no question that's accurate. I mean, the managers are everything. So I think it's actually, if you get back in the helicopter and look over the whole thing and oversee it, I think the bigger issue is, getting enough. It's different if you have a couple of facilities versus having 10 or 20, right?
Sure.
So if you're able to build enough mass and centralize your operations, so every single bill came to our office, we had 5 accounting staff members, right? We had a controller, a CFO, and 4 staff accountants. And then, working from afar, paying all the bills, doing a lot of the management related issues, all with, a marketing manager in the office, VP of operations. So having somebody who you can centralize, so to make the job of the manager as easy as possible, right? So from our perspective, the most important thing is setting up the managers to be successful. And so if you're not burdening them with a whole host of items, the likelihood of them being successful is much greater. And then the other component is to really motivate them on to do success-based performance, so they can, I'm thrilled to pay someone a huge salary if they produce for me, right? Or a huge bonus. I'm thrilled to do it. So, and really having them understand it. So to me, the one thing that, the lesson that I told my managers directly all the time, and I would speak to them with some great frequency. We'd have group meetings. Mm-hmm. To me, when you think about it, if you play baseball and you hit 2 out of 10, right? you're never making the major leagues. You're in the minor
Right.
league your whole career. You
Yeah.
hit 3 out of 10, you're in the Hall of Fame, right? So think about that difference. So
Yeah.
I would tell people 10 people call and you convert 3 of them instead of 2 of them. That's 50 more tenants on the average of 150 a month. And this, and you add it all together. I mean, you by renting one more, executing on one more lead a week, which doesn't sound that difficult to do, right? One more.
Yeah.
You've enhanced the value of a property by millions of dollars, literally. That's
Yeah.
how slight the difference is, right? So,
Yeah.
to me, that's critical.
Yeah, I would agree. So I think with the success that the industry has seen over the past almost 2 years now, everybody out there saying recession resilient. There's a lot of hyper focus, I think, on this sector now under commercial real estate industry. So lots of new owners, operators, investors looking to get into the space. I watch all of the Facebook forums pretty much every day. I look at them, and every day I can tell you there's another post. I'm getting into this business. You said you get calls every day from multiple people. If you're a newer owner operator coming into this industry, what are some of those keys to success that you would tell them in taking on this journey?
Yeah. So I would tell you, first and foremost, you already touched on it, is hiring the right people, right? So as we were growing and trying to run the SBOA at the same time, one of the first things that we brought on a guy by the name of John Price, who's been with us now for over 10 years, I think 11 years now. John is a real talent, was way out of our price range. And I was talking to my partner, David, and I was like, we got to hire him. And his comment was, we can't afford him. And I said, no, we can't afford not to have him. Yeah. And so having somebody, for example, like John, was able to free me up to do more on the SBOA, was able to work with me directly, and far exceed what I could have done as running the overseeing. He was the CFO, but he also oversaw the operations. And I would say probably what he did, which is critical, which I tell anybody in storage who will listen, is we can sit here as the owners or as the managers and say the business, the high level executives, and say, okay, this is what we want to spend, this is what we want to make, and then we don't bother telling them that runs the property. And so we haven't set them up to say, this is what we're expecting. And so what John did was he tied in our financial side of the shop with our operational side. And so it got to a point, we had 87 or so properties. We would have monthly meetings with the district managers. In the beginning, they didn't really even understand, because I didn't do a good job putting those things together. So they didn't really understand what was expected of them. And then, so we'd sit there and we'd say, okay, this month you were off by 7% on, repairs and maintenance. What's going on? I don't know. Let's get back to you. And then they never would. Well, they got so good at it, and it went all the way down to the managers, because John trained them, that they would actually come to meetings prepared in advance to say, I was off by 7%. Here's why. Great.
Awesome.
And so that was a pivotal point in our business. And I would say, paying to get the right people is huge. Centralization was huge. And the thing that I don't think the item that doesn't give enough attention is revenue management. A lot of the bigger players really notice it, but at one point, I think we had 34,000 tenants, something ridiculous like that. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about it for a second, nobody's moving for a $3 or $4 increase, right? So you take a $4 rate times 34,000 times 12, and you add a 5 cap to that number, it's millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so really watching it, training everybody from our district managers all the way down to the managers. So every month we sat down, and I was intimately involved, me, John, our DMs, and our VP of Ops. And we would sit down and we would ask the managers' opinions and the district managers' opinions on what we should be doing with not only street rates, but we looked every month together at rate increases.
Yeah. Now, and you can speak to this because you're intimately tied into the StoreTrack product. Talk a little bit about that and how easy software has made this. I can't tell you how many people we talk to that never check the rates,
Yeah.
never increase the rates. They're happy being 100% occupied and they're not getting the basic methodology of that's not necessarily good. And, or it's indicative of like, okay, you're 100% occupied. Let's raise the rates and see what happens and get rid of it.
100% occupied is not good.
No, we know, but
95 is perfect.
Yeah. And we all know the sweet spot. I think the people that have been around the industry and that understand it, but there's so many, I'm good at 100%. So just talk about the technology side of StoreTrack a little bit and how easy it is and what it can help you do as an owner operator or even a manager.
So we use StoreTrack for a long time in our business. So to really understand your revenue management capabilities, you have to know what your competition is charging.
Sure.
You also need to know when they're making big changes, right? So once a month when we started, we have our managers go through and do a check of what the competition is doing and give us a summary. I had about 10% confidence, number one, that it was actually being done, right?
Yeah.
Number two, if it was really accurate. And number three, the rates change at all different times of the day or the week, depending on what's going on. So it would take hours and hours of time. And I think it was very inaccurate, would be a kind way of putting it. Sure. So what StoreTrack does, and that's why I'm such a huge fan, is it pulls the rates constantly and will notify you if your competitors are changing their rates, so that you can know that ahead of time, so you can adapt. Like if you got a public storage or an extra space down the street and you're charging $110 for a 10 by 10 and they were charging $120 and all of a sudden they drop it to $80, you want to know that. Or if you're charging $110 and they've all gone to $150, you absolutely want to know that too. So that software paid for itself literally hundreds of times over. I would tell you that we got, tens of millions of dollars more on sale prices, on close, of what we were able to get from StoreTrack.
I think their monthly subscription fee is like $65 a month. That's renting like one unit, a small unit.
Well, and you got to raise the rate by $3 on 22 units to pay for it, right?
Or that, yeah.
So it's the simplest decision you can ever make, right? If you're not using it, you're throwing away money.
I would agree. I would totally agree. So you've kind of talked us through history. Tell me where you stand today with growth for yourself, the company. And, I know that you're kind of taking more of like a consultative approach rather than buying facilities and operating them again. Because there's a lot of people in this space that their strategy is through acquisition. Mm-hmm. So tell me kind of like what you see for yourself and what you would suggest for others as they would want to maybe grow within the industry, grow their portfolio, and how to be the most successful in doing that.
Yeah. So as of Tuesday, this is the first time in 22 years I haven't owned a storage facility.
How do you feel?
Fine, but the saying I love is never fall in love with real estate, right? So
yeah.
I would tell you, listen, it is clearly a very different landscape. I've bought over 100 properties since 2007, and so I guess almost all of them were from 7 to like 13 or 14, and since 13 or 14, I maybe bought 20 or 25 in the last 7-8 years, compared to buying 80 of them in like 3 years,
right?
2 years, 3 years. So, and owning none right now. So ultimately, do I think the industry is great and it's still one of the best asset classes out there? Absolutely. I just feel, I've been fortunate enough through, when you have some good success, a lot of opportunities get presented to you. So right now there happens to be just other areas that I'm a big fan of, like the RV space and a handful of other classes where I'm able to kind of get involved and produce a better return. I do believe storage is still one of the best asset classes out there in real estate by far. It's the best performing REIT. I think it's still great. I just think that there is, at this point in time, there's so much equity chasing deals that it's making things a little, if I didn't have anything else to invest in, I would be still in storage, but in full disclosure, I'm talking to 3 different groups right now about bringing them equity and being their partner too. So I could be back in a heartbeat, but I think there will be. It's not going to be a 2008-9 situation. Right? I don't see that happening. But I do see a softening. I think there's inflation. Interest rates will go up. Some of the people that are building things right now will get into positions where they're going to be forced to sell, not be able to hold on as long as they want to. And I think there'll be some good opportunities in short order. I've been saying that pretty long right now, but for a while. But I think it's coming. And so I think it would be just more advantageous for me to wait a little bit. But still love the class. Still think it's great. And for me. Our philosophy all along, although the one we just built with Cube is Class A, but generally speaking, on development, I would build Class A. On acquisition, I like a C plus, B minus property that I can turn into a B plus or A minus. Our philosophy all along was like kind of the 2 most important components that we had in site selection. Number one is by being opportunistic, you cannot exchange a good location, right? You can physically change a property, you can redo the office, you can take buildings down as it's done, but you can't change the location. So you got to buy good real estate. And then the second component that we did was, so we were in southeastern Michigan. We had a district of like 14 stores on the west side of the state. Mm-hmm. We were in New England. We were in Florida. And we were in Nashville and in Knoxville. And so our goal was that we had to have at least the ability to buy at least 5 properties in a market so that we can have a district manager and really turn things around.
So again, like that whole hub and spoke, you've got a central area of market saturation that you were focused on.
Yep.
Versus like spreading the wealth, thinly across multiple states.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
now I would tell you, the big thing is, when we sold in 15, beginning of 16, we sold it to Cube, and at that time we were down to 13 properties, and it was challenging. We had 1 in Florida, 1 or 2 in Michigan, 1 or 2 in Massachusetts, and the rest in Tennessee. And so we made the decision to give up management and go third party. So there's a lot of great management companies out there, and so. I think there's things that we can do better, right? I know we can do better, right? I know we're much better on revenue management. I know there's certain things that we can do way better than the large management companies. However, I do believe in my heart of hearts that you're going to be pretty darn close to where you would have been, right? You're not going to be able to compete even close on technology and marketing, right? I mean, you look at like Sam, or you look at, Absolute, or Extra Space or Cube and all those companies. I mean, they've got monster platforms for management, and so on their website. And so, to go build that kind of traffic online is not easy, right? It takes a long time. And so, by working with them, if you think you might slip in a few areas, or they might be more expensive or things like that, they'll make it up, right? And you'll be in right around the same place, and you don't have to worry about being out for dinner on a Saturday night and getting a phone call that there's a flood, or you don't have to worry about someone quitting, getting to staff the location.
Sure.
Getting rid of that was one of the most liberating feelings of my entire life. I love the staff. I loved working on it, but it gets to you after a while. I mean, it's, you got a lot of people you're responsible for. So I went from literally knowing almost every one of the employees around the whole company to, a month later, I didn't really know anybody. So.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense when you move and shift in that direction versus keeping it in-house for sure. So well, we have about 20 minutes left. So again, we're live, guys. If you have questions for Ian or myself, please put those in the chat area. We'll toss them on screen so we can ask them and answer them. Ian, when you had Storage Pros, I'll go into this question. What do you think you guys did as an organization that helped differentiate you from your local competitors? And there's a good amount of storage in Michigan. I was just there this week. You've got Pagoda. They're a large group there. You probably know all the larger groups way better than I would. but that one comes to mind. So tell me what you guys did to kind of really shine and stand apart from everybody else.
Customer service.
It's a good
So
one.
we did a lot on, evaluating our staff. We did a lot of secret shopping. We actually, a quick funny story. We bought a Cube Smart property in southeastern Michigan, and we closed like on a Monday. So Tuesday, I drive down there. So the staff has no idea who I am, right?
Yeah.
I drive down there and
Undercover boss.
Yep, literally. And I didn't mean to do it. I was just trying to be nice and just kind of have a little fun with the person.
Sure.
So I go down there and, day we close, we put up the new signs, right? And if you went to one Storage Pros property to another, everything about the operations was the same. And so I go down there and I'm like, oh, I see, Storage Pros here and you're wearing a, Cube Smart shirt. She's like, oh, it's been terrible converting everything over, the new company. It's been it's been a disaster. And I'm sorry to hear that. She's like, why? I said, because I'm the owner. And
did she turn 10 shades of red?
Oh my God. So she didn't make it much longer there. But the point is, like, anybody who's with us, we had something called Storage Pros University.
Oh, cool.
And we had an intranet on SharePoint where literally any document you needed, anything that, whether any kind of employment records, any kind of form, any kind of questions, any lead, so really teaching people, we're going to make your job as focused and easy as possible and set you up for success. And here are the basic things you got to do. You got to answer the phone. You got to call people back. Web leads come in, you got to answer right away, right? Time's a ticking. Is if you wait, you're going to lose it, right? They're going to go on to the next one.
Yeah.
And so really, I thought having a call center was critically important because, someone calls and we don't answer, and they could be with another, someone renting a unit or whatever it is, or they could be running to the bank, but you do not want to miss calls.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's leaving money on the table every time because they're not going to call back.
We would go through very specifically and say, okay, this is what it costs us to make the phone ring, right?
Yeah.
This is what it costs to get an internet lead. And if you miss 5 or 6 of those every week, right?
Yeah.
Threw away $100 and something to make that happen for you not to even call back. It's just not okay.
Sure. Yeah. When I was in franchising, and I want to see if you guys did this too. I was a consultant for Smoothie King for a while and Maggie Moo's ice cream under the global franchise brand. So I've worked with 2 pretty big brands, especially Smoothie King. I had to go through every single phase of every position before I was like released into the wild as a consultant, which it helped because it built credibility. I'm coming in to consult with an owner. Yeah. And could you imagine if I would have never laid my hands on a smoothie and made a smoothie or knew the recipe? Did you guys do anything like that as far as like training them up, so to say?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So couple things. Number one, anybody who worked in the home office, whether they were an accountant, CFO, controller, they had to work on a storage property for a week.
That's smart. Totally smart.
See what happens. People, because if not, you're sitting there like, why aren't they doing this? If you knew what their job was like, you would understand why.
Sure. Yeah.
We certainly did not just release people to go work. Because we had a district with several employees in it, right, and a district manager. Worst case, a district manager would cover for a day or two. We would, try to have on average, 2 employees per site, with days off and everything. So, we would actually have it where, everything was within, 40-minute drive of one another. So you could hire technically part-time people that could go and work in 5 different stores. And there'd be nothing different like that. There was, we were very good about, having uniform processes. So that was really important to us, and really making sure that people, felt like they had all the support they needed. So it's interesting too. So a lot of times I think one of the big failures that some of these larger companies have is they have a district manager that have 25 properties, right? And you only see your district manager once a quarter. You never, ever went more than, at most a month without seeing your district manager. And we'd like them to be on the road 3 to 4 out of 5 days a week. And so we tried to make it that, they got there every other week. And I said, I know you got other work to do, but at least if you're there and just showing up and talking to, the people at the property, they're going to feel like they have more support. I mean, if you think about it for a second, right? You're sitting there all day by yourself a lot of days, and you're in Michigan in the winter, and it's terrible out, and you're just sitting there for 8 hours. I mean, it's pretty boring. Right?
Could be, yeah, for sure.
Not a lot of people are going to come store in a snowstorm, and right. So trying to find ways to make them productive and things that they can do on downtime. Some properties are busy than others, right? Trying to, it's a lot of time and energy to get people to learn, your processes, what you want to do. You want to keep them.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back to 2008 when you created the SBOA, or this thought came to you about the SBOA. A lot of people joke and call it your third born child, which I think that it is to you, right?
Yeah.
So give me, when I was in Michigan, Alec, I'm going to have you add this to screen. I found some cool nostalgia around the office when I was digging. Check that out. SBOA used to have a magazine. Tell me about that and why you did that.
Yeah. So, really just we wanted to be a very reliable resource for people, right? And so we wanted them to think of us. And so the magazine was actually very popular. It was just a ton of work. And, really the goal was to have good content and have people understand that we were there to, help support them and make their businesses better. And so we thought the magazine was a good way to do that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. We still essentially have the magazine, right? Let's talk about how the SBOA used to do this monthly newsletter.
Right.
And you came to me a couple months ago and said, we need to move this to weekly. And I agree, because that way we can just get more messaging out there, create more relevancy, be a better resource. And it's performing super well. So we've taken that magazine and now we've basically made it digital through that source. So talk to me about why you thought weekly would be better than monthly, and kind of what we're doing with the SBOA currently.
Yeah. So we started List Sell Storage, which is now partnered with the guys at StoreTrack. But List, it kind of hit me. A consultant had told us that we should do that because we were sending out a lot of piecemeal information. We were kind of annoying people, I think.
Sure.
And then every time, people would sign up for every time a new listing got added to the site. And every time that happened, then all of a sudden they're getting bombarded with new emails. So I was actually out visiting with Cube, and we were out to lunch, and we met a couple times a year to review the properties they were managing for us. And one of them started kind of talking about the newsletter, and I thought they were making fun of me. I thought they knew that that it was my business, and they're like, yeah, it's the only thing I read. All the other stuff I delete. And I was like, shut up, guys. They're like, no, why? I said, I swear to God, we did not know that. It really is good. It's one source to see where the sales were, where all the new listings are.
Yeah. So
when I started thinking about it, last time you and I were talking about it, I was like, we should really do this for the SBOA. I wanted the goal, and I think you and Alec have done an incredible job with it, is that, if you're going to read one thing a week, I want it to be this, right? I want to know from the members, good stories. I want to know from the vendors, what kind of new products are out there, what kind of things can help make the businesses better. Obviously putting in a bunch of information regarding data with StoreTrack. And so our purpose here is to, you get a ton of noise in your inbox these days, right? And while it's the least expensive way to advertise, I think it's lost a lot of its luster because I can't.
There's so much.
I without even reading, I delete 70% of my emails, right?
Likewise, same.
I'm constantly, every day, I'm unsubscribing to things. Mm-hmm. So this is something that our hope is that, nobody was reading it. It came out monthly. It was weak at best. We did it just because we should have done it. And, now because of the great work of you and Alec, I think last week, 4,000 people actually opened and read the document. So our goal is to continue to increase that and get feedback from the industry of what kind of things they want to see in there. And, we're adding information from List Sell Storage too, so people can see where listings are. Just want it to be a like very comprehensive place where people can really get a feeling of what's happening in the storage industry from the experts and not feel like they got to read 10 different sources every single week.
Yeah, because I would say this with confidence. If you don't know them, I know them, somebody internally knows them, you've been around a long time, we are a good connection point for people for networking or getting to know, the right vendor to source and use the first time rather than bumping your head against a wall 10 times and trying to do your own vendor procurement. We've done that for you. And the deals are pre-vetted, they're pre-negotiated. I have conversations with them to make sure that they are the right partners. I talked to one a couple weeks ago, newer in the technology space. I think they're like 95% there, but that 5% of not being fully where I think an owner operator would benefit from it made me say, I want to pause, but I want to talk to you in 6 months when maybe you have that final 5% buttoned up. So, I mean, we really are doing due diligence. We're not just gathering and tossing, names out there to people. We're trying to understand what they really need and what they would benefit from.
It's a great comment. It's a great comment. So, every day, I've spent almost 22 years now in this business, kind of building up a name and reputation, and it's critically important to me. And I've written this down for years now. Just, it's a lifetime to build up a reputation, and you can lose it in a second.
That's for sure.
You do one dishonest, terrible thing to somebody, that's what they'll think of you. And so despite what the body of work that you have for 20 plus years. So to me, to make an extra, hundreds of dollars a month to bring on a vendor who's going to upset people, we're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, no. And again, we're definitely having those conversations. We are taking on the operator owner mindset during those conversations on behalf of you, just because the expertise is here on the table. And I think that's what makes us a really good resource for the industry. And we want more and more people to know about us, get to know us, like us, and trust in us, because we do have your best interest in mind and at heart. I never would try to steer somebody in the direction that I did not think would be advantageous for them in the future.
Yeah.
And sometimes in those situations, there's upfront costs, right? If they're changing to technology and they're looking at me like, I got to spend 10 grand. I'm like, but I promise you in the long run, that initial hit is going to pay for itself over and over and over again.
Yeah. And by the way, multiple times we've had a vendor that has done something either wronging us or one of our members, and they've either, based on the fact that they don't want to disrupt our relationship, they will fix it because of our relationship, or we will move on.
Yeah, and we have.
Yeah, we've done it many times. We've removed vendors from the platform on many occasions. Yeah,
for sure. So like I said earlier, we got to spend some time in Detroit, a couple days together, planning out 2022. Give the self-storage industry a sneak peek of what the SBOA is doing in 2022. We have a new series called Self-Storage for Rookies, how that came about. We're going heavier and harder on our virtual events and webinars than we ever have because we've been successful there. Tell them what we're doing, but a sneak peek.
I should be asking you that question. No.
Well, you are the visionary. I'm the implementer.
Yeah, no, so. you have the high level of GSD. I just make messes and you clean them up. But we, like you just said, I mean, we're gonna do 2 conferences next year because the last one we just did had over 1,000 people in the conference. Mm-hmm. We think we can improve it, make it even better. We've got a whole list of suggestions from members, participants, members, and vendors, as well as internally, things that we know we could do better. And then we're going to do a lot more educational things along the way on behalf of certain vendors, or you'll hear a lot more from experts along the way. And then you just alluded to the fact that, because we get so many calls of people coming into the space, we're going to create a network called Self-Storage for Rookies. And where we're going to work with a lot of the core vendors of things that you need to, as you're deciding whether to get in the space, or with them, like software, some of the marketing things, some of the construction items. Those are things that are really important to understand. And so we'll kind of teach people, what it means to come into the space and the most important pitfalls to try to avoid and most important things that you need to accomplish. So that will be a big part of what we do this year, and you'll hear a lot more from us. And we've traditionally always had somebody in the house that reaches out to people. We're going to change that model where we're going to continue to make the site more and more interactive and really work between connecting the vendors and the members together more efficiently to speed up the process, and we're pleased with what we're seeing. I mean, just the most important part, which I think between you and Alec, that has been the game changer, is that we just have a far superior ability to reach a wider audience that is engaged with what we're able to share relevant information that people want to hear about, and so they're reaching out more, and so we want to continue to improve that.
Yeah, and I'll go back to this statement. I have conversations a lot of times with groups, whether they're small, medium-sized, large, where they sourced the wrong vendor the first time. They spent tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, where if they would have looked to us as kind of the expert and the connector and knowing the right product to use right out of the gate, we could have saved them a ton of money and headache in the long run. So definitely want to, put that out there, that we want to be the connection source for you guys. And I think with what we're doing, the momentum's there, and we're going to just keep capitalizing on that.
It's a great comment. I made a ton of mistakes early in my career in storage.
Yeah.
Right. You learn, right? Things that, anybody who says they wouldn't think that they want to do over on something or do it differently the first time is lying, right? There's just no way to do everything perfectly. So we've made some mistakes, so we can help you avoid them. And by bringing people together, there's a good forum for people to hear from others of, what they did and things that they liked and things that worked and didn't work. So, that's what we try to provide.
Well, we're going to wrap up here in the next couple minutes, but before we do, Alec, if you could queue up, we have a message from one of our great partners, the team over at Storable. Don't leave yet, because we have an exciting announcement after this quick little 2-minute snip from Storable. So run it, Alec.
We are Storable, and our charge is to solve self-storage operators' challenges, help them dominate their day-to-day, and drive industry-wide innovation. Translation? We're on a never-ending mission to empower you to do more than you ever thought possible. But do more of what? More automating, more marketing, more leasing, more protecting, more earning, more of what you need to top out your bottom line, and less business as usual. How do we do it? With a powerful platform of technology, starting with industry-leading facility management software that fully integrates with our online marketplace, facility websites, tenant insurance, and payment processing. Each is best in class on its own, but when they're integrated together, you'll experience untold levels of operational efficiency and an unmatched competitive advantage. Ultimately, the Storable platform helps you harness your data, get paid faster, access powerful analytics, and convert more leads, all while creating a 5-star tenant experience. It's the only all-in-one solution that goes all in on maxing out your occupancy and unlocking your operations' true potential. Why do we do it? Simple. We realized that technology in self-storage was too fragmented, leaving operators with complicated, time-consuming tasks and missed revenue opportunities. We knew an all-in-one solution would deliver operators more control over their business. More control means more revenue and more time back in your day to do more of what you need to do. We're Storable, home of the industry's most powerful technology, and we want to help you take your business to the next level. Let's do more together.
All right. Well, for all of you that don't know, Storable is just one of our 30 alliance partners that we have in the SBOA. And every week I'm talking to new groups. We're trying to find the best products and services for you guys. So it's a cyclical process. It's ongoing. We're going to add more in next year in 2022. And Alec, if you would just share with us, for everybody out there, here's our save the date for Q1 and for our virtual conferences. So we have announced our dates. Our first virtual conference of 2022 is June 1st and 2nd. Second one will be November 9th and 10th. And then our self-storage unlock series is coming back. We are moving to twice a month, but we're doing more moderator panel style versions, because when we looked at the analytics, those were doing really well. People love the content. They love to engage with us. So that's why you see 2 dates in January, 2 dates in February, and 3 in March, because there's 5 weeks in March. So you get a bonus edition in March. So we'll be sending out all of the details for those here in the next couple weeks, who our partners are that will be on those calls, the industry experts, and the overall tone and theme of the content, whether it's a operational efficiencies panel, a marketing panel, maintenance panel, development panel. Like, we're bringing a lot of content to you guys next year. So I think we covered so much that the audience was quiet. Thank you so much for the industry insight and your expertise being around for such a long time. And I can safely say to everybody, we'll see you guys next year, because we're out until 2022.
Thanks, everyone, for all the support.
Yes, likewise. Everybody have a great holiday season. And again, we'll see you guys next year. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Ian.